Good day, everyone, especially to you, sir. Good day. We are the reporters of this topic, and but before anything else, let's me have a short awareness that you see my eyes or my face are not straightly into the cam uh because I'm not confident enough to do so. So I used always to not always look at the camera to so that my report my the assigned or the given report to me is I can elaborate confidently and deeply. So that's all. Thank you. So let's proceed or let's move forward. So in this report of mine, before we proceed to the formal discussion, let's have first a motivation. As you can see in the screen, that the motivation instruction is said, arrange the scrambled words of the following. So I have prepared 4 items, and what you're going to do again is to arrange the scrambled words. So I give you 5 seconds to answer. Okay, time's up. Okay, I presume that all of you got correct answers since the words are, I think, already familiar with you, if I'm not mistaken. So in the first item, the answer is live. The second is Vygotsky, and the third is sociocultural, and the fourth is theory. Our topic for this discussion is all about Vygotsky's sociocultural theory, fundamental principles of sociocultural perspective of learning. My name is Romanos, and my pair of this reporting is actually RAUT. So let's proceed. Let's move forward. So let's first learn the sociocultural theory origination or origins. Okay. Sociocultural theory was a work by Russian psychologist Lev Vygotsky in 1896 to 1934. Lev Vygotsky was a talented scholar with broad interests, an accomplished researcher, and a prolific or creative writer in his times. Lev Vygotsky's goal was to create a new and comprehensive approach to human psychological processes. And the goal of Vygotsky alone, we suddenly able to know that the nature or aims in his works is concerning to humans, especially in thinking and learning process. Lev Vygotsky was closely familiar with works of his contemporaries or kapanahon such as Pavlov, Piaget, Binet, Freud that frequently Lev Vygotsky commented on their ideas. So let's move forward. Lev Vygotsky's thinking skills was also influenced by philosophers, namely Hegel, Marx, and Engels. Lev Vygotsky died because of the disease of tuberculosis at the age of 37, where only 10 years after his professional career in psychology began or started. Shortly after Vygotsky's death, his manuscripts or works were banned or prohibited in the USSR or stand as the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics due to political reasons. But not until in the late 1960s when his works was allowed to be published or to publicize again. Lev Vygotsky first became known in the West when his language and thought was translated. Lev Vygotsky's work continues to be disseminated or scattered through the efforts of scholars such as Coleridge, John Steiner, Lantoff, and Rogoff. Lev Vygotsky's ideas markedly influenced theories of psychology and education and continues to significantly affect educational practices today. In simple words, idea of Vygotsky was huge relation into human psychology and education because if we try to think this deep, we figured out that a human psychology and education have important roles towards each other. Lev Vygotsky's theories are often contrasted or compared with Piaget theories, mainly reasons because both psychologists focus on understanding on cognitive processes and development of children. In any case, their theories were described by Brunner as incommensurate or hindi pantugma because they highlight two ways human beings can make sense of the world by means of logical necessity, that's according to Piaget. While Vygotsky, in the statement of two ways human beings can make sense of the world by means of interpretive reconstruction or reconstruction of circumstances. In the correspondence of Piaget and Vygotsky, we could clearly see that the sense of their ideas are dissimilar. Generally, Lev Vygotsky theories are viewed as complementary or pantulong to Piaget and other Western approaches since the broad sociocultural perspectives balances the focus on the individual. Okay, so let's move forward to the fundamental principles of the sociocultural theory. So there is three fundamental principles, which the first is social interaction plays an important role in learning, and the second is language is an essential tool in the learning process, and the last is learning occurs within the zone of proximal development. So let's first learn the first principle, which is the social interactions play an important role in learning. So Lev Vygotsky proposed that social interaction plays a critical role in the process of cognitive development, especially in the development of higher order thinking skills. To simply emphasize, the social interactions benefited mental skills or intelligences of a learner. It's like learners easily learned or received knowledge by interacting other people. Okay? Also, social activity between a parent and a child or a teacher and a learner lay a foundation for how and what the child will think and do in other situations. If we imagine the scenario that is stated here between the adult and the learner who is guiding the child, we comes up to the example. Example, I am a learner with my mother. Supposedly, I was a grade 1 student. No? Again, I am a learner with my mother and we do a pair activity in the program or in the events. My mother will assist me and helping me to get done the activity, and this action couldn't done by interacting. I have my mother to guide me, to support me and assist me just for me to learn the activity so that on the next activity, possibly all by myself, I will able to finish the activity successfully. Moreover, Vygotsky wrote that every function in the child's cultural development appears twice. First, on the social level, which refers to interaction between people, also known as interpsychological, and later on the individual self, which refers to inside of the child or called as intra-psychological. So example, actually having a group working activity so that supposedly she interacts with her group mates to do the task. This refers to interpsychological, wherein the interaction occurs between groups of people or other people. Then, Arshil is having a reflection with herself basing to what she's done earlier along with her group mates. So basically interaction occur in Arshili alone. So This interaction are refers to intra-psychological, wherein the communication or the interaction takes place inside or in the person alone. Social interactions and social interaction process is characterized as guided participation where a child actively acquires new cognitive skills and problem-solving capabilities through a meaningful collaborative activity with an assisting adult. So if we look upon into the child whose age between 3 to 7 above, we observe that they are very sensitive ages of children for not able to think independently and not able to act appropriately, so they need fully the guidance of adults, parents, and teachers. By the guidance or presence of adults, they learn new knowledge and effectively they will enhance their problem solving skills, which are important. So, okay. Through working together on a variety of tasks that a learner internalizes or adapts socially shared experiences and associated effects and acquires useful strategies and knowledge. So in this statement, of course, when learners are united in doing a task, they encountered a learning styles or strategies dependent to how they're able to done or to finish the given task to them. As individual of the group are being participating, contributing, basically that groups are being effective. They accomplish their tasks as well as they learn something better under each companies, which they can relate or reflect into real life situations. The processes of guided participation and internalization reveal Vygotskian view of cognitive development. So when we say cognitive development, it is refers to the mental skills or the intelligences of a learners. Yes, as the transformation of socially shared activities into internalized processes or an act of enculturation. So highlighting the words of guided participation, which in simple words an act of a person where a person is guided or assisted by other person, and internalization means being incorporated with yourself or self interactions of person. This process could be viewed of cognitive development as the learners are able to receive new knowledge and able to improve thinking skills as the transformation of socially shared activities into internalized process or an act of enculturation. So when we say an act of enculturation, this simply refers to a way of learning wherein groups of learners are involved in that specific process of learning, and if we apply this in real life situations, they possess the characteristics of an effective people in the community. Learning awakens a variety of internal development processes that are able to operate only when the child is interacting with people in his environment and with his peers. Learning is not development, however, properly organized learning results in mental development and sets in motion a variety of developmental processes that would be impossible apart from learning. So to emphasize shortly, according in this statement, mostly the child gained learning knowledge through interacting with other people, which we figured out that is true. Just imagine. The poor child didn't have a guardian nor parents and adults to cared of. We ended up thinking that the child cannot survive nor live life properly. Thus, it's stated here that the learning is not development. Well, for me, for my personal views, I against with learning is not development, because for me, learning is development as we gain or receive or adapt knowledge every single day of our life, and as we experience through a lot of things and through what we experience, observe, thought, we will able to develop our thinking skills or cognitive skills dependent how we manage our life to things that we had encounter. So let's proceed. So another implication based on Vygotsky view of learning originating in social and historical context is that the sociocultural perspective acknowledge both individual differences and cross-cultural differences in development. The highlighted words here are individual differences and cross-cultural differences. Individual differences, as word means itself, refers to individually differences of a person, such as traits or characteristics, behavior or even personality, and etc. While cross-cultural differences, this refers to differences with culture, traditions, and backgrounds, which can be influenced into the environment we are in or you are in. Example of these are education, religion, culture, language, way of living, and etc. This sensitivity to diversity is quite important because much of the research and the resulting understanding of development is done in white or middle classes children of Western tradition and assumes universality. So as we notice now in our surrounding, majority of the country are sharing to each other, as you can observe, or even adapting culture to each other. For example, the Filipino people are learning Korean language and able to copy their style, the way they dress, the way they express emotions, like that. Also English language, Japan, and etc. As well, there are also a country that learning or studying Filipino cultures and traditions, and many actions have been done into one country to another. Also, in education, this is also applied by teacher teaching his students about the different cultures and tradition of the country or even in the different country of the world. What most that there is understanding, peace, and adaptation of cultural backgrounds between country or people in the generations. Recognizing that ideal thinking and behavior may differ for different cultures and that different historical and cultural circumstances may encourage different development routes to any given development endpoint may liberate educator from a constricting universalist view and allow them to provide a nurturing environment where diversity as a resource. The statement here is notifying people, especially educators, knowing that people may have differ from different history, backgrounds, and identity. What's much concerning here is that to still engage in equality, peace, understanding, nurturing, possible to the close people or even people from different places. There is plenty of love or chance for everybody. Continue to the second fundamental principles of sociocultural theory, which is the language is an essential tool in the learning process. So, language is an essential tool in the learning process. The second important notion on which Vygotsky elaborated is related to the role of language in the learning process. Vygotsky reasoned that social structures determine people's working conditions and social interactions, which in turn shape recognition, beliefs, attitude, and perception of reality. According to the statement, if we look into other side, we comes up that a language plays an important role in life. Through language we able to organize things, perception, values, and etc. In other words, through use of language, it's been easy on us humans to input ideas, to collect thoughts, shares or express message. He extended his reasoning further with a notion that human action on both the social and individual planes is mediated by tools and signs or semiotics such as language, systems of counting, conventional signs, works of arts, and etc. Expandingly, the mentioned words here such as mediated by tools and signs or semiotics such as language, systems of counting, conventional signs, works of art, and etc. All of these are reversed in language structures or forms that basically language is not only means what we speak and write. Language can be emphasized through a variety of things, and I could infer that the language itself is a form of art. Okay. So Vygotsky suggested that through the use of these tools or semiotic mediation, co-construction of knowledge is facilitated and social and individual functioning also is mediated. So let's okay. These semiotic means play an important role in development and learning through appropriation, a process of adapting or internalizing these socially available psychological tools by an individual to assess future independent problem solving. So as individual plays part of the learning process by simply involved in the set activity or task, this introduce having a better speculation in the future examples. I am a college student and one of our academic projects is to make a research paper. Through in the process of making a research paper, I encountered a certain person or a people that helped me to done my research paper effectively. I able to communicate well with my professor, classmates, and other people that may involved in my research paper. In this action, it helps individual to be independent in the near future, as I believe the more person is knowledgeable, the more he seek knowledge on their own, which for me is ideal characteristic to have. This means that children and learners do not need to reinvent already existing tools in order to be able to use them. They only need to be introduced to how a particular tool is used, and then they can use it across a variety of situations including novel events. In this statement, the children or the learner didn't have to reinvest or remake or even reconstruct the already existing tools, which refers to language, knowledge, or ideas in order to be able to use them. Instead, children or learners should able to know on how to proper use an existing tools so that they could manage to use this in a cross variety of situation or in appropriate different situation in life. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, so we are now on the three fundamental principles of sociocultural theory, which is learning occurs within the zone of proximal development. So probably the most widely adopted concept related to sociocultural theory is the concept of the zone of proximal development or the ZPD. Before anything else, let's have a short information about zone of proximal development. As what you can see in the photos there, that having a circle, where in the circle color, purple tells that child cannot do, and the next circle in blue, the colors tells child can do it with help, and the last one, the yellow, tells the child can do it on their own. So analyzing the pictures rather, this is actually a process of a zone of proximal development wherein the child are being highlighting as object of these methods or strategy of learning. Okay, let's move forward. It is the distance between the actual developmental level as determined by independent problem solving and the level of potential development as determined through problem solving under adult guidance or in collaboration with more capable peers. So way back to photos again as what we observe. Firstly, child alone cannot able to do the task. Second, with the guidance of parents or even teacher, the child will know how to do the activity. Third, this time child can do the activity independently. For example, Melanie is a grade 1 student and their activity in the lesson is to write a number from 1 to 10. So, firstly, Melanie didn't know how to write a number from 1 to 10. So, basically in that day, Melanie didn't able to pass the activity. So, she failed in her home because their assignment and that day is to write a number from 1 to 10. Melanie's mother helping her with her assignment and it went successful. Melanie now able to write a number from 1 to 10. So day after that night, Melanie's teacher are happy because she is now able to write on the board the proper sequence of the number with appropriate alignment. Okay. It is essentially the zone where learning takes place. Vygotsky strongly believes learning should be matched with a child's developmental level and suggested that in order to understand the connection between development and learning, it is necessary to distinguish the actual and the potential levels of development. So in this statement, what most emphasizing here is that the learning and the development process of a child are matched or coordinated with. It's easy to engage in learning or to involve in learning process, especially when the child itself finding it good to her or him. Example, the disabled children, because of disability, the learning process must apply to them are relevant or effective to their situation so that as children or child or even people, they will enjoy the learning process and develop themselves passionately. He considered the ZPD or zone of proximal development to be a better and more dynamic indicator of cognitive development as compared to merely measuring what children can accomplish independently. I am agree to this statement that to be effective that a child learned first, they need someone to guide them or to assist them, and once they're succeeded, now they're able to work on their own. It's a good process actually. Unlike the child alone doing the activity or the task without single guidance from parents or adults, so basically the outcomes are not that pleasant because it could ended up that the child didn't know how to do it appropriately. What should be done in order to achieve this activity? So it's more delightful when the learning process or the development of a child first have been guided by adults. Okay, let's move on. Okay, Lev Vygotsky viewed the application of GPD or zone of proximal development broadly, referring to any situation in which some activity is leading children beyond their current level of functioning. Thus, the zone can operate during play, work, school, studies, and other activities. Highlighting the words any situation in which some activity is leading children beyond their current level of functioning. Zone can operate during play, work, school, studies, and other activities. The zone can be applied in different aspects where learning of a child and development occurred. Example for playing, working, school studying. With this example, all of these are referring that a child can able to learn, adapt new knowledge, and develop their self with the helps of classmates, friends, parents, teacher, and even the other people that present in the process where actions or where learnings happened. Providing sensitive instruction and guidance within the ZPD allows a learner to develop skills and strategy they will eventually apply on their own in other situations, which is a characteristic of developing higher cognitive skills. The role of a learner's social partner is also critical since the type of social interactions, tools they use, and skills they practice determine the outcome of the collaborative experience, which could lead to a normal and accelerated development as well as to developmental delays and an abnormal development. To shortly emphasize, once a learner or children engage learning in a ZPD manner, significantly the learner will even find other strategies or methods that align to the learning process have encountered by them. In other words, the more children will engage in the process of ZPD, there are possibility that they more became creative in solving or doing the activity that faced them. So seemingly, the experience stand as a great opportunity that the child increase creativity and productivity with or without sort of people. An ideal partner, whether an adult or a peer, should be advanced enough in knowledge or skill to promote learning and at the same time be able to interact within the zone not too far beyond the learner's reach. Additionally, partners in a successful collaborative activity share a degree of understanding about the task, a common goal, described as intersubjectivity. Okay. It is not sufficient for the partners to merely work together. They must construct the problem solution through coordinated effort, which implies shared power and authority over the process. So, in this statement, what I read right now, we encounter the words collaborative, which refers to a group of people sharing and learning together in certain of times. So, examples of groups. The group task is to present a diagram about the life cycle of a butterfly. The group is composed of a leader, writer, information gatherer, and the presenter. In the process of task, or doing the task, frequently the members of the groups face problem like the members are not active to the assigned role to them, so there's lacking of motivation. In order to solve these slight problem group has, the leader do his best to motivate his members, saying motivated word to his members so that the members will gain energy again, and this time they used to be productive and creative. Everybody is now doing their best. Unity and dreams incorporated them so as impact to their performance, it's good or excellent. This example of mine, the tasks that given to the group are just enough on their capabilities and environment. Briefly, one of the concerns when it refers to collaborative learning that the task should be given is enough to the people to do the task or just carry the task. In the 1970s, Brunner Wood and Rose added the notion of scaffolding to sociocultural theory. Scaffolding is the important mechanism that helps a learner successfully complete a task within ZPD, and as such is the practical tool in actualizing guided participation. Scaffolding describes an ongoing support provided to a learner by an expert in a process of learning and completing a task they cannot complete without assistance. The words that refer to scaffolding is that the children learning with a guidance of adult. As you can see the photos that children are learn have that someone to guide them. The person that perfect to scaffolding is our parent, teacher, and any other people that present or valid in the process of learning. They are the one who guiding children or learners to be better, to be independent, to develop examples. In our status as college level, our scaffolder mostly was our instructors, parents. It's one of the rules to guide us, assist us, helping us to make step closer to our dream. It connotes a mutual and dynamic nature of interaction where both the learner and the expert influence each other and adjust their behavior as they collaborate. So example, in the pair activity, me and Archie, as we collaborate or united to the pair activity, there are changes of our behavior such as if personally me, I am shy, slow learner, and not active in academic, and I'm paired by Archie, and Archie was a top-notch student. So basically me, for actually didn't doubt my skills or my passion, I turned into active students so that focus students that focus on the activity and aims to meet the activity efficiently so that actually have good perception of me and able to think that we are compatible in the pair activity. So also actually have changes in her her behavior also, that knowing that me are a slow learner, so that our pair could be better or doing well, she may adjust her perceptions of me. Okay, so let's move forward. Okay, the concepts of GPD and scaffolding have quite revolutionary implications to assessment, instruction, and educational in general. When we say assessment, instruction, and education, generally this refers to teaching and learning among teachers and pupils. Traditionally, assessment measures what learners know and understand unaided at a given point of time. However, as briefly mentioned above, Vygotsky believed that taking into account both what a learner knows independently and what they can do or understand with assistance is a more accurate measure of that individual's learning. So, according to the statement that the traditional nature of assessment measures what children or learners know and understand in a certain times, whereas learning processes without guiding or no assistance in answering the activity. Example of these are the daily quiz or the exam. The learners have to answer or to take or the learners have to answer or to the task alone. But as what also mentioned in the statement that Vygotsky believed that independent learning of children and learning of children with guidance of adults are more accurate measures of individuals' learnings because the learners are more active if they feel that they have someone that accompany them while learning. In short, they not only focus on the learning that must gain in that period of time, but to create a better memory with the chance. So basically, the learners are grows by grows if we have that someone we can band to. Okay. So understanding what a child can accomplish without as well as with assistance can inform educators and other stakeholders, and it can also significantly improve quality and effectiveness of instruction. Of course, if a student can able to do the assessment without person to assist rather, the teachers may reflect that his or her assessment are just accurate to the learners, but as much as education is concerned into the child, teachers, stakeholders must alert or aware of the learning style, strategies, methods that best fit into the lesson discussion so that the children or the learners are able to meet the expectation of the level ability of a children. Furthermore, sociocultural theory suggests a different dynamic for a relationship between the learner and the teacher than is currently typical in a school setting. The learner takes on more responsibilities such as determining their learning goals, becoming a resource of knowledge for peers, and being collaborators in the learning process. The teacher is viewed as a guide and an assistant and a facilitator of learning rather than a transmitter of knowledge or an enforcer of rules. Analyzation and the statement that I read, we found out that this characteristic of the teacher and the learner are being taught and applied in education so that the learning process reach or meet effectively. By the collaboration between the learners and the teachers make good impacts or outcomes in learning process. Example, during an experiment in laboratory about physical and chemical reaction, the learner are able to demonstrate his performance. He was ready and the teacher assisting him on how to make it right or just added, appropriately. So in this example, we know that the actual learning process are involving by teacher and learners. They are both engaged in actual learning process. Another example is in the reporting. In the reports, the assigned reporters are being resourceful and productive, researching their topic, making a PowerPoint presentation, and teacher is being approachable by what's only to input in the report. So this act is teacher guided or assisting learners to make the reporting organized and presentable. This shift in roles promotes individualized, differentiated, and learner-centered types of instruction, which when accompanied with effective pedagogical practices provides a powerful alternative for reforming current educational systems and creating environments that may make it possible for the majority of individuals to develop deep understanding of important subject matters. So, emphasizing the quotes that said, make it impossible for the majority of individuals to develop deep understanding of important subject matters, knowing that learning is no limitation nor boundary, and to engage in education is like being have taken by wind into destiny. It's absolutely an opportunity in which those dreamers and motivated person must grasp. So, in conclusion about the fundamental principles of sociocultural theory, we have the first is social interaction play an important role in learning. The second is language is an essential tool in the learning process. And last is 3, learning occurs within the zone of proximal development. So these 3 are the highlight principles that originating the sociocultural theory of Vygotsky. The key concepts here are the social interaction, language, and ZPD or zone of proximal development. By deep thinking of these 3, we suddenly come up a learning process takes place between the self, other people, and the environment. As the learning could be done by ourselves or with other people and able to reflect it into our society, community, and or environment. The important here is that the sociocultural of Vygotsky increasing our cognitive aspects or mental skills, our intelligences, so that in the near future, we are considered to be called as functionable members of the society or the community we belong. So that's all for words. The remaining topics are being actually RAUT will be the one to discuss. Thank you.
Good day everyone. By the way, my name is Archie RAUT from EED2-C. So now I am going to continue to report about the sociocultural theory. So now I'm going to discuss the strength and limitation of sociocultural theory. So strength is, first, a sociocultural theory has several widely recognized strengths. So first, sociocultural emphasizes the broader social, cultural, and historical context of any human activity. It does not view individuals as isolated entities, rather it provides a richer perspective focusing on the fluid boundary between self and others. It portray the dynamic of a child acquiring knowledge and skills from the society and then in turn the child shaping their environment. The second is sociocultural theory is sensitive to individual and cross-cultural diversity, and contrast to many developmental theories that focus on universal aspect of development. Sociocultural theory acknowledges both differences in individuals within a culture and differences in individual across cultures. It recognizes that different historical and cultural circumstances may encourage different developmental routes to any given developmental end points, depending on particular social or physical circumstances and tools available. And the last one is sociocultural theory integrates the notion of learning and development, greatly contributing to our theoretical understanding of cognitive development. The idea of learning driving development rather than being determined by a developmental level of the learner fundamentally changes our understanding of the learning process and has significant instructional and educational implications. And there are also limitations to the sociocultural perspective. The first limitation is related to the Vygotsky premature date, as many of his theories remain incomplete. Furthermore, his work was largely unknown until fairly recently due to political reasons and issue with translation. The second major limitation is associated with the vagueness of the ZPD, or zone of proximal development. Individuals may have wide or narrow zones, which may be both desirables and undesirable depending on the circumstances. Knowing only the width of the zone does not provide an accurate picture of their learning ability, style of learning, and current level of development compared to other children of the same age and degree of motivation. Additionally, there is little known about whether a children's zone is comparable across different learning domains with different individuals, and whether the size of the zone changes over time. There is metric scales to measure ZPD. And the last one is finally, Druga points out that Vygotsky theories may not be relevant to all culture as originally thought. She provides an example of scaffolding being heavily dependent on verbal instruction and those not equally effective in all culture for all type of learning. So now let's proceed to the three major application of sociocultural theory to instructional design. First is focus on the individual learner. Second is use of effective pedagogy centered around collaborative practice and communities of learner. The last one, and attention to the funds of knowledge. So focus on the individual learner. According to Watson and Romanos, a strong call has been issued for a complete shift in our education and instructional design approaches, requiring a learner-centered instruction to reflect our society's changing educational needs. New methodologies such as universal design for learning based on the learning sciences recognize that every learner is unique and strive to provide challenging and engaging curricula for diverse learners. Watson and Romanos mentioned that there are two important future of learning-centered instruction: a focus on individual learner and a focus on effective learning practice. So individual learner of teaching and learning that is also known as where the instructor focuses on the individual learner and each of his or her needs instead of the curriculum as a whole, and where the teaching shifts from a focus on the teacher to that of the student. In the focus on effective learning practices, like use summative assessment to frame meaningful performance goals. And also, according to Grabinger, Applin, and Punapa-Brainer, sociocultural theory, and related methodologies may provide a valuable contribution to this effort as they focus on a learner in their social, cultural, and historical context, and also offer sound pedagogical solutions and strategies that facilitate development of critical thinking and encourage lifelong learner. And the next is use of effective pedagogy centered around collaborative practice and communities of learners. Social theory allows instructional designer to apply principles of collaborative practice that go beyond social constructivism and create effective communities of learners through effective pedagogies. So effective pedagogies focus on developing higher order thinking and metacognition and make good use of dialogue and questioning as order to do so. So, the sociocultural perspective view learning taking place through interaction, negotiation, and collaboration in solving authentic problems while emphasizing learning from experiences and discourse, which is more than cooperative learning. In addition, according to Scott and Pellingscar, in addition to the collaborative nature of learning, approaches grounded in sociocultural theory pay attention to and model the discourse, norms, and practices associated with a certain community in order to develop knowledge and skills important to that community. And also, this approach is consistent with communities of practice, an inquiry-based method which enculturate learner into the community of practice, highlighting the importance of effective pedagogical practices, quality of content, as well as a strong social presence to increase the effectiveness of learning experiences and successfully facilitate critical thinking and higher order learning outcomes. And furthermore, the emerge of new synchronous and asynchronous communication technologies and increased attention to computer-supported collaborative learning or CSCL create new opportunities for applying sociocultural methodologies as their affordances allow quality collaboration and new ways of interacting in face-to-face, blended, and online environment. So, synchronous communication are scheduled real-time interaction by phone, video, or in person. And asynchronous communication, it happens on your own time and doesn't need scheduling. So next is attention to fund knowledge. Current instructional methodologies generally do not give consideration for existing knowledge, established relationship, or cultural richness, commonly referred to as a learner fund of knowledge. Gregson and Akhil explained that when social presence is established as part of a community of inquiry, which require recognition and use of these funds of knowledge, collaboration and critical discourse is enhanced and sustained. Establishment of solid social presence further reflect in positive learning outcomes, increase satisfaction, and improve retention. Integrating sociocultural practices into learning design, for example, through creation of communication of inquiry, integrates a learner previous knowledge, relationship, and cultural experiences into the learning process and inculturate the learner into the new community of practice through relevant activities and experiences. And next, another information about attention to fund knowledge. Another interesting solution to supporting social and cognitive factors in learning is the creation of a third space for discourse where a learner's primary discourse related to home and informal social interaction is merged with the secondary formal discourse of school. This allows students to share in less formal environments, which lowers the effective filter, encourages exchanges, and gives students control over when, how, and what to share. Third space discourse also encourages educator to recognize student personal experiences and to incorporate their student fund of knowledge into instruction, which result in increased conceptual understanding and use of academic language. When learners feel valued as participants in the community, when their prior experiences and knowledge are recognized and integrated into learning experiences, and when instruction reflects culturally sensitive practices, their motivation and satisfaction increase, and learning become deeper, lasting, and more meaningful. And the last one is conclusion. The notion of social origin of learning, the interrelationship of language and thought, and the notion of ZPD are Vygotsky's most important contribution. However, it is the practical application of sociocultural theory that create learner-centered instructional environments where learning by discovery, inquiry, active problem solving, and critical thinking are fostered through collaboration with experts and peers in communities of learning, and encourage self-directed lifelong learning habits. Presenting authentic and cognitively challenging tasks within a context of collaborative activities, scaffolding learners effort by providing structure and support to accomplish complex tasks, and providing opportunities for authentic and dynamic assessment are all important aspects of this approach. Sociocultural principles can be applied in effective and meaningful ways to design instruction across the curriculum for learners of different ages and variety of skills, and it can be effectively integrated using a wide range of technologies and learning environment. And also the challenge remain for educator and instructional designer to elevate our practices from efficient systematic approaches for teaching and instructional design to focusing on individual learners and effective pedagogical practices to develop empowered learners ready to successfully negotiate the rapidly changing era of information. Technology is at our fingertips. It is up to us to competently implement its unique affordances to promote new ways to educate and support the meaningful and self-directed learning. Grounding our practices in sociocultural theory can significantly aid our effort. And this is in our references: Psychology of Learning of Instruction and the Community of Inquiring Technology. And that's all. Thank you, everyone.